welcome to the Aces Up Your Sleeve podcast. I am Sabrina,
Sharp?
and we are two ASPEC neurodivergent therapists, and we're here to talk ASPEC neurodivergent relationships and shit.
Yeah.
A quick disclaimer. This is not therapy. It's not advice. It's what we might do if we were in your position and our thoughts on the situation.
Yeah, we're hopeful that you'll leave with some helpful tips and hints and tricks, but definitely this is not our this is not our day job. This is not a therapy session. But we did get today's topic from another therapist who would like us to speak on it because it sounds like they're running into a lot of clients who are experiencing this, and I think many of us experience it in our personal life as well. Today's topic is competing neurodivergent needs in families, friendships, groups, etc.
Yeah, this was actually okay. So, a little bit of backstory. Cade and I met when we were both part of leadership of this thing that Cade is still part of leadership of, and then I stepped down. And I don't know if you remember this, but this was actually something that someone was bringing up of like, what do we do if there's like two different like people who need the same thing? And then later in my group that I mod, the same thing came up, and this person was like almost being obstinate. They were like, well, who wins?
Oh.
Nobody. And they're like, well, you have to be able to like basically behaviorally control somebody so that the other person's need is met. Otherwise, like that person's need is
Ooh.
neglected. They were like, it was a very like either or mindset. And I was like,
Wow.
this is so interesting. So yeah, this question or this like topic really kind of immediately brings me back to that and how like I'm a little bit too much of a DBT therapist for all that nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever encountered something where it was like, well, one person just has to win here. It's
Right.
always like, how can we collaborate to find things that are going to work for both of you, and where can we each compromise is usually the route.
Yeah. And like sometimes that compromise might even be like, can we just be in a different room from each other for a little while or things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it was a really interesting, they were like very adamant and like, concrete of like what you're saying is that like because I'm not gonna remember it exactly, but like because you don't want to do behavioral interventions of like whatever, that like that child's behavior, because they were like give an example of like a bunch of kids are at like an orchestra event thing, right? And like one kid is screaming at the top of his lungs. And obviously that's disruptive to everybody else's experience. And so like their perspective was that everyone else in the group was saying like, just let the kid scream and fuck the other people. And it was like, no, but the point is also not to say fuck that kid screaming. Like
Yeah.
there has to be a like middle ground of like, what are they getting out of screaming? Like there's a lot more than just offering a punishment or like trying to curb a behavior without like getting a lot more information.
Yeah. I mean, in my role as a play therapist, when I'm working with youth, it's pretty frequent that they have sensory needs that do not match mine. And I'm not always just saying, hey, stop that. I'm saying, okay, this client really enjoys being loud. I have very sensitive ears. What sort of like tools do I have where they can be loud and my ears are protected? And sometimes that's these little devices that look like an old school telephone, so that when they're loud, it goes right back into their own ear. So they get that input almost immediately, and it makes them quieter because it's going right into their own ear, but they still get it out, and I don't have to hear it so loud. And other days, they just get to scream, and I've got loop or earplug type things that I can stick in,
Yeah, like I think that's a really big key part, especially like when we're talking like kids, right? Is that like
Yeah.
sometimes we do just have to be the adult in the room and like make a decision on how we are willing to cope so that they can have an experience that they're looking for. One experience I had of this was like when I was running a therapy group, one of the people in the group was really into, we had these like big long stretchy bands, like Patrick really likes them. They're like fidgets. They're just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a little rubber, like flat. It's not flat, it's round, but it's like long. Does that make sense?
Like a little, what are they called? Like it's like a stretchy worm, like tube shape, correct?
Yeah. It's a tube shape. It's
Yeah.
not the worm ones with like the little bodies.
Right.
I have those too. But anyway, this person would really like to like whip, like circle it around.
Yeah.
And they kept losing track of it. So that don't work. Or they would like hit like the table or themselves or whatever. But also like it was just kind of big and distracting and like a little like alarming as it was happening. And so like we had to kind of have a conversation of like, what is it that you're getting out of this? Is it like the arm motion you like? Is it the sound? Like, can we find whatever you're getting out of it in a different way? And we ended up getting to like, you can do it underneath the table. Like it can't crest the table.
Yeah.
And that'll be, and then like kind of put them away from anyone who found it uncomfortable, right, on the like a different side of the table. But I think it's really that you got to start with a conversation. What are you getting out of this? What do you like? What need is this feeling for you? What are you enjoying out of this? Because I also have found that can sometimes even just make it more tolerable by itself. Like my partner and I have a lot of conflicting needs. They are deaf and I have very sensitive hearing. They are blind and I like not fully blind, but they really need a lot of lights on to see. I'm very light sensitive. Like the amount of lights in this room right now is kind of a lot for me. And it's like one not super bright overhead. And so like we end up having to figure out a lot of that like give and take compromise, like that kind of stuff. And I have found that sometimes it's as easy, like not as easy, but like it really, really is helpful when they're like, yeah, like the reason that I'm doing this is because like this is what I'm getting out of it. And I'm like, well, I do want you to get that because I do love you. Okay. Yeah. That's helpful.
And it's like a little give and take, especially when it is a partner and not your child. When you're not the adult and there's two adults, it's easier to be like, okay, how are we going to support each other in this? We're all on the same team here for figuring this out. It's not us versus, or one versus the other,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how are you usually helping like with families? Like especially I'm thinking like siblings?
Oh yeah. First, I want to know in the Guardians' lives, who are their support people, and do any of those support people have similar sensory needs? Like, if you've got a kid who just loves to play catch and you physically can't, or that is just the opposite of what you want to be doing, who can we outsource that to? Who can come over once a week, twice a week for 30 minutes and play catch outside? Or is it more tolerable to maybe go to the batting cages and you don't have to participate? You just are physically present while your kid is doing whatever they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we outsource some of it? How do we get creative in how their needs are met? So we do have to determine, like, what sensation is it that you're seeking from it? Or what sort of safety does it bring to you to engage in whatever it is? Because it could also be, one kid really enjoys narrating everything they do and the rest of the family needs quiet. So what is that? What sense of safety is happening there for you? How are we accommodating it? It is rarely a one and done solution where it's like, okay, we know the sensory need, here's my suggestion, it happens perfectly and goes well. It's a lot of trial and error, I think.
Yeah. I definitely have found that like because a quick and dirty one that a lot of folks will tell you is like put in earplugs. I have weird ear canals. Earplugs hurt. Like it's actively painful for me to wear them for a long time. Or even like frequently. But also like I said, my partner's loud. They are loud when they eat. They are loud when we watch stuff. It's a lot. And I've got like just enough of like, oh my god, I cannot listen to the sounds of your mouth, or I will claw my own ears out. And so like usually I will put my earplugs in at dinner and we'll turn the TV up loud. But then I take them out right after we turn it back down, and like trying to kind of find those middle grounds of like it's just not really possible for them to eat quieter. And so our options are like don't eat in the same room, or I deal with some discomfort of like putting earplugs in. And so like yeah, there's a lot of like little things like that where it's like, okay, it's like not a perfect solution. And there are actually times when I just opt to eat in my room, or like,
Yeah.
that like I just am not up for it. But I try my best to leave enough at the end of the day to like tolerate that, because I really enjoy having dinner with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. We could probably do a whole separate episode on like misophonia and sensitive ears to those mouth noises, because I'm the same way. And sometimes if the TV or show is loud enough, I can kind of spend all my energy to focus on that and not hear other people chewing. But sometimes it is like, I'm going to go to the other room and eat there, and I'll be back once we're both done chewing.
Well, because I think a lot of people don't quite realize that like I am processing my own mouth sounds and
Yeah.
your mouth sounds, and I'm gonna die. Um, it's actually one of the things I struggle with some podcasts where like I hate ASMR. I can't stand that shit. Um, and so yeah, it's definitely difficult, and it takes some like doing. Um, but I think it's really like overall a commitment to like, am I like, is this worth having a relationship with this person? And like, not that every sensory need is like relationship breaking, but like I have decided to be in friendship with this person, in family with this person, in whatever, right, in a group with this person.
Yeah.
How can I like, part of doing that is finding a way to like find a middle ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And acknowledging that everyone's sensory needs are valid, you know. My sensitive ears are not they don't like outrank the fact that my partner needs a lot of noise or likes to be loud, you know, that those are also needs in that he's more regulated if he can do those things. So
Mhm.
we can't in respecting that each other's needs matter at least equally, that helps too with the collaboration and approaching it together instead of well, you're gonna have to stop XYZ.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
often like, there's this idea that it's gonna be like a one or the other. And like sometimes that just is like, sometimes there is not a middle ground, meaning a gray area. Sometimes it has to be
Sure.
like, okay, I will put up with or tolerate or whatever this to the degree that I can, and then on the times that I can't, I will rely on you to tolerate or put up with or whatever, or we will separate. Like just like for the time being, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think people get really lost in like, but you're not. This is the one, right? You're not validating my lived experience.
Yeah.
Okay, like I can validate all day long and still not like be able to tolerate what you're doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think too, with some of the competing needs, especially on the sensory side of things, there might be times where you're doing something that you don't actually need, and then it can become an either or of like, maybe my partner is chewing gum and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but we're in a vehicle and I cannot hear this noise right now. Can you just spit that gum out?
Oh my
And
god,
he's like,
cars are the worst.
I know, because it's the extra road noises and all the other things competing for your attention.
Mhm.
uh, but you know, if he's like, oh yeah, I just was chewing gum, I don't actually need to be doing it. It's not really meeting any need. He just spits the gum out into a wrapper, and you know, that's it. So sometimes it can be as quick as that, but often, especially for entire family dynamics or big groups like a theater troupe or like a church group, that is where it gets harder. Where it's like most of the things these folks are doing, they actually physically, emotionally, mentally need to be doing, and it's harder for it to be a one and done solution or a solution that works every single time.
Yeah, I think too, like, this is where that difference between like need and want is really important. And like, that it might be that sometimes your partner looks at it and goes like, no, I need this to be centering my own self right now. Like I'm about to
Mhm.
like tear my own hair out. And it's like, okay, well, they're like, same like I really struggle with gum because A, it's a mouth sound, but it's also usually mint. And I can't like, I get really nauseous when I smell mint. Especially in
Oh,
gum like it. Oh, it's so strong. I can like feel it now. It's so bad.
oh,
Um, and so like, and just because I'm like, hey, this is like, this is an actual need. This is awful for me. Doesn't actually mean that the other person doesn't actually need it, but it also doesn't mean that they do. And so like, I think that's actually one of the very first steps is identifying like, is it a need or a want in this moment, just right now, not forever, now. Is this a need or is this a want? And recognizing that like, is it a strong want? Is it a want that's backed up by like, okay, if I'm not doing this, I'm going to be a lot more testy. Okay, I can put up with more testy. I cannot put up with that fucking mint.
Right. Or is the alternative like, well, if I spit this out, here's what I'm going to need to do instead or want to do instead, and that's way worse?
Pick your
I don't
options.
know.
I will tap you on the head until we get to where we're going, and that will be my. And it's like, no, the fuck
Yeah.
you out. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it requires a lot of communication, which can be hard to do in the moment. So when you recognize, ooh, I did not like that, find a time when it's not actively happening to revisit it and say, so you might have noticed I yelled at you to spit that gum out right this minute. Sorry about that.
You
What
might
I
have
meant
noticed
was
I screamed at you.
what I meant was, that's really hurting my ears and very, very aggravating to have to hear because of my misophonia. Could we instead next time try something different? What are you open to trying instead? Do you actually usually need like the jaw movement? Is it the flavor? Is it the scent? Like, what was that?
Yeah. I think too, like, speaking of communication, there's also sometimes where it's like, I can't be talked to right now. So how is it that we're going to communicate about what needs to happen? And like, I am kind of annoyingly a big fan of like, can we sit down and have a family meeting? Can we sit down and have like a friend meeting, a house meeting, whatever, right? Of like, can we talk about like, hey, we need to figure out how we're going to do dinner because I've been struggling. And like not in the moment of dinner, but like then I mean obviously like dinner happens over and over and over. Oh my god, it happens so fucking much. You gotta have dinner like every night. But like, you know, before the next one or you know, before it gets too distressing, right? Can you sit down and have a conversation outside of the context of everyone's just trying to like meet their needs?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And planning it like that works well for a lot of folks. Other people, it might be, let's pick a time where we're not both escalated and text about it or email about it. You know, whatever form of communication feels best for you and the other person or people.
Write
I
in a
know.
journal and like leave it there, and then the other person picks it up. Like I often will find that like when things are heated, slowing down things as much as possible is really helpful.
Yeah. And, you know, if you do have like a family therapist or a therapist who works not just with one person in the group, whatever the group is, could they act as mediator and help teach you all to do this on your own? You know, because sometimes it's just hard to know how do we even approach this the first time we want to talk about it, or we've tried and it blew up, so now we're scared to try again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I know we talked mostly like sensory differences, but when we talk neurodivergent needs, communication and the social side too, there can be a lot of differences on like the frequency people want or expect communication, the way that they communicate with each other, or the way they need to be communicated with. There's also that whole love languages thing, which is controversial, but a lot of people still cite it and say, you know, my autistic love language is different than theirs, so what do we do? Do you have any thoughts on that stuff?
Yeah, actually, I know the research is bunk on it, but I actually like love languages just as a like verbal tool, right? Like as a common language to describe some things that are happening, and then using that as a springboard, right? Yeah, I think I read this article or something years ago, where this person was talking about how like they brought their partner to therapy because they were like on the brink of leaving. They were like, I cannot do this. Like the love is gone, all this stuff. And kind of they through that work, they found that like she didn't feel loved. Like, she was looking for words of affirmation. She was looking to hear the words "I love you."
Mm.
And he was like, that's not how I do, but I think about you fucking constantly. And so they like made this little set of like, if you tap me 3 times, it means I love you. And she was like, he never stopped tapping me. Like, we would be asleep and he'd be tapping me. We'd be fucking and he'd be tapping me. We'd be walking through the grocery store and he'd be like, tap, 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 tap. Like, and she was like, it's constant. It's all the time.
Wow.
But like, he didn't have the way to say it in the way that she could hear it, and she didn't have the way to hear it in the way that he could say it. And so at that point, it has to be like, we have to agree to put effort in on both sides.
Yeah.
I have to listen better, you have to speak better, right? Like, speak being like meaning any type of communication outwards in this context, right? Like, there has to be a better way to export the information and import the information. And I think like that is often like, autistic or not, I think that there's actually a lot there of like, we have to learn how to listen to each other about like what's actually going on, and we have to learn to like express to each other what's actually going on. And like, again, I'm just a big fan of like slowing it the fuck down. Like, as an ADHDer, I know it's hard, I genuinely do, but like, as much as you can, like, okay, stop. What I just heard you say was, is that what you said? No. Cool. What did you say? Okay, what I just heard you say there was this. Is that what you said? No? Fuck. What is happening? Like really slowing it down into that like kind of process. I think that can actually be really helpful. But it doesn't help a lot when it's like, I'm all worded out.
Yeah.
You know? Even in
Yeah.
like text wording, or like, because I'm a very verbal based person. Like, I have a really hard time with like keeping text communication up well. I'm like very like, I respond a lot, but I like don't always put all of my thoughts because it takes so long to type out, and it's like so much extra mental energy for me to like, oh my god, I hate text communication. I do it because I gotta do it, but like, fuck.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed, sometimes I'll ask a question and then say a thing, and you only respond to the thing I said. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if she doesn't want to talk about the other thing, or if it's too much to type. And so that would be a good place too for people to get some clarity. Just ask like, are you avoiding that because you don't want to say it, or did you miss it, or is it too
Yeah,
much?
probably half the time I missed it. Especially like, what was it? Oh, in a group chat that I'm in, like, some friends had answered a direct question that I asked, and then some other people posted other stuff, and I like completely I like went back and was like, did they ever answer me? What the fuck is? Oh, nope.
That's funny.
But I often like, especially platforms that don't take you to the like oldest new message.
Mm-hmm.
I get lost because I see the new fun thing and I like get excited and I respond and I like don't scroll up. So most of the time I missed it. I think the only other time that I could really think of is like, if I was saving it, I was like, oh, let me like figure out that answer, and I went into my phone to find it, and I never came out.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
never heard from again because I opened Facebook or Instagram or Solitaire or a different message.
Gosh. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And another way of like social communication that is sometimes very different depending on the person. One of the ways that I tend to communicate is I'll ask like this or that questions. And a lot of, especially ADHDers, they glom onto the last part of the question and they'll answer that part and forget the first part or not respond to the first part. And so I've had like my partner say, I'm going to need you to ask just one question at a time. So,
Yeah.
do you want to go out for dinner, or what sort of food are you in the mood for? Like, if I'm asking 2 or 3 types of questions at the same time, it's just too much. I'll only get one answer. So sometimes we also have to look at, okay, are there ways we can communicate more effectively based on the other person's neurotype and how they understand and comprehend stuff?
Yeah, I'd actually just said that to my friend the other night. I asked like 2 yes or no questions back to back. And so I was like, is it like this, or is it like this? Do you want it to be like that? Something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. And she was like, yes. And I was like,
to which one?
that was too, like, huh? And like that again, like you said, like that's all me. Like I asked it that way. And like therapy school kind of specifically is like, hey, don't do that. But I think it's hard, and like when it comes to like a lot of times like I'm kind of looking at my phone as I'm like also having dinner, or as I'm also like walking up and down the stairs, or as I'm pretty on my phone. And I think like the most effective way is often like, hey, did you see that question I asked you? Like even just tonight, like my partner is doing something and I had messaged them and I was like, hey, da 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 da. And they weren't getting back to me. They weren't like, their little bubble wasn't popping down. I didn't see it. Or they didn't see it. And I was like, okay. So I texted them on a different platform that they just get notifications a little bit easier on. I was like, hey, can you check your messenger?
Smart.
And I think like a lot of times it's those types of things that like you've got to start with an assumption of neutral or positive intent. An assumption of like they didn't see it, an assumption of like not like they're ignoring me, not they hate me, not, you know, this is the worst, oh my god, blah blah blah, but just like, okay, they didn't see it, or they forgot, or let me ask to get clarity. Like those types of things are really important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I think in larger groups too, it's really important to involve all parties. You know, we've talked a lot about families and friends or partners, but when it's a big group, you know, maybe it's a work related thing or an extracurricular type of thing. But I think your scheduling technique works really well for that of like, okay, group meeting, we need to meet and just kind of meta process some of this stuff. What's the best way for us to do that? Do we need virtual, text, email, in person, audio call?
What's
Yeah.
so hard about that though is like a lot of people would take that as like it's a meeting about a meeting. And like as
Right.
a like I'm a hugely verbal processor. I will often like it's one of the reasons I will always be in therapy for the rest of my life, because like I need that space to actually like sit and slow down and like get the things finished. And like I do a lot of that with friends too, but like therapy has a very specific kind of aim, right? And a like focus. But
Yeah,
like I really am not fully able to like, if I'm stuck on something, it's not going to process all the way through until I've like spoken it with somebody.
that makes
Does that make
sense.
sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, and I have a hard time speaking it by myself, and it doesn't give me the same thing. And so like I often struggle like with folks, even who I love, who are like, I hate a meeting about a meeting. And I'm like, I think sometimes we're processing it as a meeting about a meeting when really it is a verbal processing session itself.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, well, like, what are we thinking? What are we wanting? How, like, what would this look like? Okay, like, and I just need like the beginning strings, and then I can like make the tapestry. Like, I can get there, but I can't start the beginning strings without that verbal processing space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that giving it the space to process a little and hear from everybody makes a big difference because, again, like you've said in other episodes, we're not mind readers, so sadly, we can't just guess what all 10, 12, 20 people here are already thinking or needing or wanting, and if we're still all aligned.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
What style, like, what method of communication do you usually like best?
Um, it's so tough. Like, I enjoy receiving things through text, email at first. Like, give me a sense of what we're gonna talk about, and then I can move to like live
You're a
audio
very planny
communication.
person, yeah.
Yeah, just give me a hint at what we're gonna discuss, and then I can be ready to discuss it. Because if we logged in to do the podcast and you're like, Cade, we need to talk before we get started, my my nervous system would be like, what? Okay. No clue where this is going. Great. And it would take me a little bit to even get into that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to listen and we're going to be proactive, because I'd be like, well, what could this possibly be about?
That's so interesting. I um definitely have people in my life who like try to do the really kind thing of like, I'm gonna tell you like, hey, I'd like to have a meeting with you, and like do like you're not in trouble, everything's fine, but my body still just feels like it's in trouble the entire time. Like I'm so much like the thing we were talking about on the last upping the ante. We were talking about doxing a little bit, and so go listen to that if you want to hear all the details. But when that happened, and they had to like call me and let me know what was going on, there is nothing more excruciating to me. Like, it could be that you're about to give me a bonus or a raise. It could be that you're about to tell me that you're
Oh,
having a baby. It could be that you're about to tell me that I've been doxxed. It could be, it doesn't matter. My nervous system does, like, because you're not actually telling me the whole content, and there isn't a way to really, like, not
yeah.
without just having the fucking conversation over text. And so, like, I agree, being blindsided like that can be really hard. But I definitely struggle a lot, even with the, like, hey, like, do you think we could talk? Like, how is, like, next week Tuesday for you? Awful.
Yeah, I'd rather it happen
Now.
sooner. And I need a little teaser of what this is about. Like, hey, we're gonna talk about the podcast. I kind of want to rename it. Great, then I can already start kind of brainstorming what might be logical to talk about. But if it's like small feedback, if we hopped on and you were like, hey, your audio was really loud last time, can you hold your mic further away? No big deal. Okay, great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do that.
So it's the bigness of the feedback, or the
Like the
thing.
in-depth. Yeah, how much processing and troubleshooting am I going to have to do over the thing? If it's hold the mic further, I can do that. If it's rebrand our whole podcast, that's going to take a little more. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Are
Yeah.
you like written, verbal? What's your vibe? Like, written to
Yeah.
start, into verbal?
Yeah, I think written to start helps, and then usually I'm good to go. Audio, phone call, video, whatever we got to do. Yeah. And I know that's different for everyone. Like some people would prefer to just stay in the written, in the text. It gives more processing time for a lot of folks. It gives them more time to like correct what they're trying to say and make sure their message is getting across, but I think I don't always find that that's true. I think
Yeah,
sometimes the clarifying
yeah.
live is easier.
That is often why I prefer live. Like, I would much rather hop on to, like, a fucking 10-minute call than spend a week and a half emailing back and forth.
Yeah.
And especially because, like, for me, I find that, like, in text, it's so easy. People will just, and I don't understand how it happens, because when I'm reading a text from someone, I'm reading it in their voice.
Hmm.
Like, my brain translates it into their voice if I know their voice. And that doesn't mean that I always get it right, but, like, I think that kind of softens things up. But so often people misread me, and it takes me, like, saying the thing into a voice note or on a phone call for them to be like, oh, that's how you sound about that. And I'm like, yeah, like, yes. What do you mean? And so I really sometimes struggle with the, like, we have to keep this on written, because, like, I need the, like, processing. I'm like, dude, the processing time is actually the hardest part for me. I need us to go. Let's go.
Yeah, I think too, for folks who know each other really well, it might be easier to pick up the tone through a text, or if people use tone tags, tone indicators.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, yeah, it's hard to read someone, and you're like, okay, is this like you being funny? Are you being serious? It can be tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, sometimes if someone just says like, damn, it's like, damn good, damn bad. What part specifically?
Yes. Positive damn, negative
Yeah.
damn, neutral damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
also do a thing that I love, where you'll have, like, 3 minutes and, like, just hop on a phone call.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the other night,
Yeah,
you
sure.
were like, "Yeah, I've got, like, 4 minutes till my client shows up. Are you still driving?" I was like, "Yeah, let's chat for 4 minutes." I
Yeah.
adore that. I love it so much. Like, that's the kind of energy that I want all the time, but so many people are like, "No, I don't have time for a phone call. I only have 20 minutes."
I think
Hey.
what gets hard though is when you get to know the people who can actually go, oh, you have 3 minutes, great, we can keep it to three, and the people who you're like, I have 3 minutes, and then at minute like 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 13, you're like, I really have to go. I have a client. I have to go. Thank
Oh,
you. Goodbye.
you are better
So
than
there are
me. I
some
would
people where
hang
I'm
up
like,
on somebody.
yeah. Some people I'm like, I cannot do a short phone call because I know it can't be a short phone call, and that's okay. It just means we actually need to schedule a phone call.
Yeah. No, I definitely, that's where, like, I get real strong on the, like, I will mute my communication. I will hang up the phone. I told
I've
you
had
3
to,
minutes.
yeah, I've had to do it and then text like, sorry, had to go. Like, I couldn't cut you off in the middle of your 10-minute thing you were saying.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I know I definitely kept you over by 1 minute on our 4-minute
Oh,
phone call the other day.
that's bad.
Partially just because I was driving and my car clock is not right because I refuse. I absolutely, first of all, my battery was having problems, but also I just
Mm,
refuse to change it for daylight save. Like I just don't fuck with it. And so unless my partner gets in the car and gets annoyed the fact that it's wrong, it's wrong. So I just wasn't I wasn't clocking it, but
that's
yeah, I
fine.
think it does take like knowing, can this other person also meet me where I'm at, or do
Yeah.
I need to meet them where they're at because of like how they are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know we just covered like a quite a span of things, but I hope that folks are finding that useful. We are always open to like follow-up questions or if someone has a very specific, okay, but in our household,
Situation.
yeah, like this and this keep happening. What do y'all think? What would you do if you were in that spot? That would be we'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I think with topics like this, it's a little harder to like rein in, and so yeah, we definitely got a little bit amorphous there. But I do think that it's a really common thing. Like it's probably half of the therapy sessions I do are
Yeah.
what do we do? Like I want or need this, they want or need that. What who again back to who wins. And so I think that like being able to really sit down and like flesh out that like
Mhm.
competing like needs are gonna happen all the time. Neurodivergent, neurotypical, whatever, like they're gonna happen, and no one is actually more important or valid than the other. And so we
Yeah.
gotta like figure that out.
Totally agree. And I think on upping the ante, we'll maybe shift gears and talk more about like what if this is a romantic or sexual partner? What do you do then if your needs are very very different or tend to vary a lot from each other and even your own usual needs change from time to time. So if anybody wants to hear a little bit about what we think in that regard, you can join us over at Upping the Ante. Otherwise, we'll see you next Tuesday right here.
Awesome. You can find Cade at Cryptid Learns and me at Radical Insights Consulting on Facebook or Instagram. If you have any questions for us or you have a specific situation, you can visit neurokink.org/AUIS and send it our way. We're going to jump over to that Patreon now for Upping the Ante, and we'll see you there.